Okay, so I'm going to get started and we'll get into this. First things first, with all SMC courses and events, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and their connections to land, sea and community. And we pay respect to the elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to other Indigenous people present. Very important step for us at SMC. So just to make sure that you're in the right place, that you haven't double booked yourself and turned up in the wrong masterclass, we are here to take your LinkedIn profile to all-star status. Now, I'm assuming, I just did notice that somebody said they can't hear me, so I'm assuming that you can hear me now. Okay, good. That's good. Okay, so that's what we're here for. If you were expecting to be in a different masterclass, you probably need to go and check your email. And but if you want to learn how to get your LinkedIn profile to all-star status, stay with us. And the other one won't be as good as this one. My name's Neil von Heupt. I'll get to how to pronounce it later, but I'm the senior learning designer. Sorry, no, I'm actually the head of learning design at Social Media College now. I've been on LinkedIn for over 10 years now. I've designed award-winning courses about LinkedIn. I've presented at conferences about LinkedIn, and I've helped literally hundreds of people improve their LinkedIn profiles and learn how to use it. I'm on LinkedIn pretty much every day. And I'm a fellow of a couple of learning and development institutes, the Australian Institute of Training and Development and the Institute for Learning and Performance. And today we're going to have a great session and we're going to get your LinkedIn profile happening for you. So first things first, if you can get your piece of A4 paper, and what I want you to do is you're going to be working horizontally today, okay? And I want you to draw a 5-point star. Now my one goes a bit off the screen. That was just to give you permission to be a bit messy if you need to be to make a 5-point star. They can be tricky. You might not have drawn one for a while, but I do want you taking notes today. That's really important. Partly because I want you to be able to see your LinkedIn profile on your screen. So I'd rather you're actually writing stuff down, but draw yourself a 5-pointed star. I'm going to give you 6 ideas across this session so that we can get your LinkedIn profile up to star status, okay? Now, I want to start off with some good news, okay? So the good news is that I want you to succeed, okay, on LinkedIn. And I put this picture up. This is one of my son's mates, Phil. And this was his LinkedIn profile when we first started working on it. And it was terrible. And he was quite open about that. He was over here for dinner one night and he was like, we were talking about LinkedIn and he said, I so need some help with my LinkedIn. And I opened it up and I went, yes, you do. And I said, well, you're in the right place. And I actually asked him at the time and I said, look, can I use your profile at the moment, how it looks at the moment? Can I use that as an example of one that, shall we say, needs some work? And he agreed to that. And I said that he would know whenever I used it as an example, because I was going to ask everybody who I was presenting to actually connect with him, okay? Now, he's also getting married in a month, so you can wish him well. So over the course of this masterclass, I'm actually going to give you 5 people that I want you to connect with at the end of the masterclass, okay? So, and Philip Wan is one of them, okay? He's a graphic designer, great, his work's amazing. If you ever need a graphic designer, he's the person. But I also just want him to see that I'm still using his profile as an example there, okay? So I want you to succeed. I have this kind of running deal with people where I just say to them, if you're willing to put in the work, I will tell you what you need to do to fix your LinkedIn profile. And I'll tell you a couple of things at a time. And when you've done them, I'll tell you the next things that you need to do. And Phil was great. He I said, okay, the first thing you've got to do is this. You've got to fix up your background there. And then we need to work on your headline so that people know what you do. And he just jumped straight into it. And all of the different suggestions that I gave to him, he jumped in and he fixed them up, which was just great. And the other part of good news is that, oh, that's interesting. My little mouse doesn't want to work. There we go. Okay. Is that LinkedIn wants you to succeed as well. Okay. So they will, if you go onto LinkedIn and you're setting up your profile, it will often prompt you to say, hey, you haven't got your you haven't got your profile completed yet. You haven't got it up to all-star status. You're still a beginner, and it will take you through all the different things that you need to do to get your profile up to all-star status. Now, I'm going to show you more than those things that LinkedIn will prompt you to do, because I don't just want your LinkedIn profile to look amazing, but I actually want your experience of LinkedIn to be good, okay? Because that's actually what will kind of keep you using it. So first up, now it's been 2 years we've been using Zoom regularly. So I'm hoping there's some people in the session today who know how to use the annotation toolbar, okay? We're all familiar with these little thermometers at the moment, of course, but I just want to have a bit of a sense of how you're feeling about your LinkedIn profile at the moment, okay? So if you know how to use the annotation toolbar, which is at the top of your screen, if you slide your mouse up the top, you should get like a little bar pop out, and you'll get an annotation toolbar, and I'm hoping that's working. And at the top, if you've got a cracker of a LinkedIn profile, it's all-star, you're an influencer, you've got a massive network, you've got high engagement on your things, then put a stamp at the top. But I'm wondering, because nobody's jumped on there, I think we might not have an annotation option during a masterclass. Interesting. Not there, no annotation tool. Okay, well, I'm just going to move straight on. Okay, so, okay, in the middle, number one. So I've got 6 ideas that I'm going to give you over this thing. So in the middle, and each one of them has an icon, okay? So in the middle of your star, just exactly where I've got it there at the moment, I want you to draw, and this is a chess piece, okay? So you can make it as complicated or as simple as you want. It doesn't really matter if it's a pawn or a king or a queen, okay? Actually, it probably should be a king, okay? Because the idea here, when my kids were little, I taught them how to play chess, okay? And we'd sit down, and first of all, they kind of had to learn, you know, that the bishops go on the diagonals and the horses can jump things in crooked lines and the queen could move a lot and all of this kind of stuff. And they were really keen to sit down, and they'd sit down and they'd play, and we'd get about 6, maybe 8 moves into it, and I would go, checkmate, and the game was over. And they would get a bit cranky with me, and they go, Dad, come on, no, I want to play chess. And I said, we did just play chess, you lost. And I said, the whole point of chess is to get the king, okay? If you don't understand that you're there to get the king, then you're really not understanding what chess is all about, okay? So they needed to understand the purpose. And so we keep playing, and what they did was, as they knew that I was totally focused on getting their king, they started paying attention to my moves and started paying attention to where my bishop was getting placed, and they learnt, and I was no longer able to catch them with a 6-move checkmate because they understood my purpose. Right? So it's really important with LinkedIn as well, and with all of the social media stuff that you do, but with LinkedIn, it's really important that you understand what your purpose is for being on LinkedIn, okay? Now, I'm going to ask you, for each of the 6 ideas that I've got across this session, I'm going to ask you a question, okay? And so the question is, for this one, what's your purpose, okay? Now, there's a whole pile of options as to why you might be on LinkedIn. You might need a job. You might want to, you know, get a career happening or expand a career or move around in your career, whatever that might be. That could be your purpose for being on LinkedIn. I often hear people say when they've been retrenched or lost their job or whatever it is, and they go, oh yes, I'm on LinkedIn at the moment. Perfectly valid reason to be there. You might want to build your network. You might be feeling kind of a bit isolated in your role. You want to learn from some other people in there. That could be your purpose on being LinkedIn. And you could have more than one purpose, but you probably won't have 7 purposes for being on LinkedIn, okay? You could be there because you want leads for your business. You actually want to find people who are going to be interested in what you have to sell, whether that's a product or a service or a message that you want to get out. You could be looking for leads to find people. You might be wanting to build your industry profile by publishing things or participating in a professional community. You might be on there to recruit people, stacks of people on there working to find people either for other organizations or within their organizations. You might be there because you actually are looking for a bit of community, some people to actually connect with properly. I must admit, I love the messaging I have on LinkedIn because it's people who I know and people who I care about, and we connect. And for some of those people, most of our communication is done on LinkedIn. And you might be there to learn. So obviously there's the whole LinkedIn learning platform, but you may be just there because you need some professional input, like some input into the work that you do, some ideas, some people to bounce ideas off, whatever that might be. But it's really important. So that's your first question. So the first thing is the little chess piece to remind you about getting the king and being focused on your purpose. And that might not sound like a really all-star thing. Certainly LinkedIn doesn't make you define your purpose to get to all-star status. But if you want to get to all-star in terms of how you use and experience LinkedIn, it's really important to understand what your purpose is. It influences how you use it. And it shapes the sort of copy that you write, like the words that you write in your profile and in the posts that you do. And it also shapes the kind of creative content that you produce, whether that's with images or videos or infographics or whatever that might be. That's all shaped by your purpose. So it's really important to understand that. So there's your first thing to happen there. Because I want to be clear here, nice little quote here. Your LinkedIn profile isn't a resume. It's your online reputation, okay? It's the days of it, originally it was just kind of, you get your resume and you copied it onto LinkedIn when LinkedIn first popped up on the scene, but it's so much more than that. And people go looking for, checking out other people, and they check them out on LinkedIn. They estimate that up to 70% of jobs aren't advertised. They go through networks and recruiters, okay? And recruiters are on LinkedIn, okay? So having your LinkedIn profile functioning is so important, okay? The other good part about getting your LinkedIn profile working is that it has a huge return on investment, okay? What I'm going to tell you today is going to take a bit of work. You're not going to get through everything in the hour that we've got, but at the end, you'll have like a bit of a checklist of things that you need to go and do, and that'll take a bit of effort, but it's the best return on time invested that you'll ever get, okay? Once you do it properly, you will see opportunities and leads and contacts coming to you, okay? So huge return on investment for what we're going to look at today. So next on our 5-pointed star, it doesn't matter which one you draw it on, but I want you to draw this little name badge. And the question here is, which you can write down next to the little name badge there as you're taking notes. The question is, who are you? Now, I'm going to pause here because I've mentioned taking notes a couple of times, and I want to offer you like a little deal here, okay? I love seeing the notes that people take. I don't mind if they're messy. I don't mind if they've been coloured in with pretty coloured pencils. I do that when I'm taking notes or afterwards as I review the content. But I would love you at the end of this, if you've taken a great set of notes, I would love you to send a copy, take a photo of it, send it to me on LinkedIn Messenger. And what I'll do is, my offer is that the best set of notes, like the best looking set of notes or the most comprehensive set of notes, I'll do a post about you to my network. I'll introduce you to my network and say, hey, this person is amazing at taking notes, and I'll tell them a little bit about you. And so it's a bit of a deal there, okay? So if you take some really good notes, then I'll do a post about you out to my network. So there we are. So the first question is, who are you? Okay. And what we're going to talk about in this section is 5 things here: your picture, your background, your headline, your summary, and your skills. Okay. So let's talk. Well, actually, let's talk about skills first. You can have up to 50 skills listed on your LinkedIn profile, and they're super important to have them listed there because that's one of the ways that results are filtered. Okay, so when a recruiter is looking for somebody to place into a job, one of the things they'll do is they'll put a list of the skills that they need, and LinkedIn goes through and it finds all the people with the relevant skills and it feeds those things back to the recruiter. Okay, so the thing with skills is obviously you need to have them, like that's kind of important, but what you want to do is don't spend a lot of time trying to kind of work out what your skills are. Just what I say is just go and steal them. Okay, so go and look at the sort of jobs that you want. Okay, and in those jobs, when there's a job post, you can search for a job. Say, I want to be a graphic designer, like my friend Phil, and he can come up and see the jobs. Now, the jobs will list the skills that they're looking for, and more importantly, they'll list them in the language that that particular industry and recruiters are using. So there's no point, you know, teachers coming into, say a teacher wanted to move into my profession, they came in and they listed their skill as program design, okay, which is about lesson planning and putting together scope and sequences and things and units of work. But in the world of learning and development, it's not called that. It would be called instructional design, okay? So it's important to actually use the language of the profession that you're wanting to work in, okay? So go and look at jobs that you want and go and look at people who are in the jobs that you want, okay? So if my graphic designer friends, he goes and he just searches for graphic design, he goes to people results, and then he looks at some of those people and he says, what skills are they listing in their profiles, okay? So you can have up to 50 of them, so don't be shy and list the things that you can do, okay? So let's look at a couple of other things. First of all, let's look at like what we call above the fold. How can I not judge a book by its cover when the cover is the first thing I see? Super important what people see when they hit your LinkedIn profile, okay? And this is what we call above the fold. This is the stuff that people see before they have to scroll down. Okay, and there's a lot actually packed into this little bit at the top here. Now, Philip Wan was the first person I wanted you to follow after this one. The second person I want you to follow is Nathaniel Bibby. Nathaniel is our LinkedIn marketing expert, and so just find him afterwards and say, hey, I heard you mentioned in the SMC Masterclass, would love to connect with you on here. He's fabulous, and he's really generous with sharing content that's really helpful for people. So now, and so I've got his picture up there, but what you can see on there, he's got a background image, which tells you a little bit about him, tells you that he does presentations to groups of people, amongst other things. You've got his profile picture there with a nice smile, and it's facing a little bit towards the left. I'll come back to that in a tick. It's got his headline there, that he's the Managing Director of Bibby Consulting Group. It's got his location in Sydney, Australia, number of connections. After 500, you just get 500 plus. It's got his contact info and a little summary on the right-hand side of his education. It's not everything that's on there. And the other part is when you get below the fold, there's a stack more stuff that you can actually have on there. You can have highlights and your about section, your featured things, what sort of activity you've been engaged in, your experience, your education, licenses, volunteering, skills, recommendations, accomplishments, contacts, interests, all sorts of other stuff. But first thing first, let's get above the fold, the stuff that they see just when they click onto your profile. Let's get that right, okay? Your profile picture and headline are the two most important elements, because they're the first thing that you see on LinkedIn. Andrew Ford is one of our subject matter experts. His particular focus is on personal branding, and he does a lot of that through LinkedIn. And so again, write his name down and afterwards find him on LinkedIn and connect with him. He shares great content all the time. And so make sure that you follow him, okay? Your profile picture, okay? Now, I often just scroll through, there's a section where they say, where they recommend other people for you to connect with. And I often just scroll through the photos, just looking at the photos of the people there, and because they're just amusing, you know, like I'm having a bit of a bad day, I can go and scroll through LinkedIn photos and see the sort of photos that people put up there, and it's amazing what people put up there. First of all, you want to be in your work, in work mode, okay? This is a professional platform, so you want to make sure that the persona, like the image that you're presenting is a professional work-related one. And so that does expand to the kind of clothing that you're wearing. And again, that depends on what sort of industry you're working. So my son's one, which we'll see in a couple of months, you know, he's just wearing I don't even know he has a collared shirt on kind of thing. But my one, I've got a collared shirt on when I do it. So whatever's going to be relevant to the workplace that you're in. Head and shoulders, we don't want to see you way back here in your profile picture, okay? We want to see you right enough and close. We want to have a not distracting background. So my current picture on screen wouldn't be suitable for LinkedIn, I would say. We want just for you, so we all tend to look better when we're at weddings, and I see a lot of people's profile picture where they've obviously been in a wedding photo, they thought that they looked really good, and so they've just cropped that bit of the photo out and they've used that as their LinkedIn profile. So just you, don't have any kind of group shots or where you've been cut out of another picture there, obviously. And smile, so that's really important. First impressions are really important. make it a high enough quality image, and 400 by 400 pixels. Now, one last little thing. So just watch, so this is Michelle, this is our partnerships director, and just watch what I'm going to do with her profile picture. So at the moment, she's actually facing a little bit to the left, okay? Which, if I'm looking at her profile on screen, is off to the side of me, okay? So what you can do, and you can use PowerPoint or Canva or whatever tool you like, but just watch Michelle there, and I'm just going to flip her around. So now she's facing me, okay? Because she's now actually looking towards the middle of the screen instead of that way. So just just a little subtle trick, which just makes it a bit more engaging for people when they open your thing. So that's your profile picture, get that one right. Okay, you need to write a compelling headline. So the headline's the bit that sits right underneath your profile picture, and people have weird headlines, seriously. I want to teach you a really easy formula, and then I'm actually going to give you a task to do, okay? So the very easy formula for writing your headline is X helping Y to do Z, okay? And so Alan Sharp here is a great example of that little formula, X helping Y to do Z, okay? So X, he's a business-to-business copywriter, helping Y, helping technology firms and their hotspot partner agencies to do what? Acquire customers. Now he's thrown in a little bit at the end that he's HubSpot certified, just a nice little flex at the end of his thing there. But that little kind of pattern of X helping Y to do Z is a great way to set up your thing. You've got to remember that people have a kind of what's in it for me approach when they're on LinkedIn. So they're going to be looking at your profile and they want to know right from the get-go, how are you going to help them do what they need to do? They're not interested that you're the GOAT, you know, the greatest of all time. Actually, don't use words like GOAT. Well, I mean, you probably wouldn't use that, but try and steer away from industry jargon. Don't call yourself an L&D person like me, because not everybody knows what that is. Try and stick away from acronyms and hyperbole like greatest of all time or world class or expert kind of thing. Just be real about what you can do. Use the language of the people who are going to be reading your profile, okay? And make sure that it includes the value that you are offering to people. So, something for you to do. Now, you might be thinking, oh man, I'm never going to get that written in the next 30 seconds. And that's okay, but I want to give you a bit of space here, at least to write down what you need to do after this session, okay? If you're quick and you can write your headline and copy and share it in the chat, then please do that. I would love to see that. I'm going to actually just get the chat up a bit and see if I can catch up for a minute. That's partly why I've got these little things. Well, I can, Larry Ting and Lisa, welcome. I can just see some names in there. A bunch of people in there, but I'm hoping I can get at least one person who gets their headline into this chat. Career counselor helping people manage their careers. Awesome. Well done, Georgia. I got more than one. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, that's really good. Okay, so if you haven't been able to kind of quickly come up with it, that's okay, but just write down that the thing you need to do is to write your headline and write that little formula down. X helping Y to do Z. Social media specialist helping brands to grow and reach targeted audience. Nice work, Yafana. That sounds good. You're in the right place. Marketing officer helping fitness centers attract customers. Awesome. Awesome. Because every person who's in a fitness center is going, I want that person. They're going to help me to attract customers. Okay, so your value proposition is there. Well done. Thank you. So we've got our profile picture and we've got a headline, and next we talk about the background image, okay? Now, I've got two different examples here. So I've got Nathaniel's up there, Nathaniel Bibby, and I show you his one because he's wanting to portray in his background image that he's an author. He's got his book there, that he's a LinkedIn insider, the little logo there, that he's a presenter, that he's award-winning, and he's captured all of that in his thing because he's particularly pitching to a professional audience. Now, if you contrast that with the one above, which is my son, and he is a marine mechanic. And so his background image there is of a boat. Now, the good news just in terms of him was he wanted to kind of shift his careers at one point. And I said, hey, I can coach you how to do that. And we spent half an hour a day working through exactly the stuff that I'm taking you through now. And within 3 weeks, I had a recruiter calling him to say, can you come in for an interview? So that kind of success is totally possible. We're just going to kind of put in a bit of effort, and the return is amazing. Okay. Now, what I want you to do here is jump onto, if you've got your computer open, if you don't, just write down this site. And if somebody's really quick and they're already on the site, to go to Canva. If you could just put the link to Canva into the chat, that would be awesome. That'll save me kind of jumping out of share screen, and just put the link to Canva. If you're not on Canva already, please jump on it. It is the marketer's best friend. Thank you, Apollo. Well done, man. She's so fast. And Adam, oh, well done. Thank you. So jump on Canva. Now, the trick is, if you go at the top of the page, you can maybe see on my image that I've searched for a LinkedIn banner. Okay, and it pops me out with a whole bunch of options. Now, I don't like all of them, to be honest, because they've got, you know, the person's name on them and their photo, and it's kind of doubling up what's already there on your LinkedIn profile. But the backgrounds on them, outstanding. Okay, so jump through there and just have a look at your LinkedIn banners. If you're not happy with your one, or you've just got the default one, then you really do need to fix it up. Okay, if you don't like the one you've got up there, you can always change it to another one. Mine gets changed at least once a year. Just mix it up a bit, make it look more interesting when people come in there. Okay, so that's the second thing that you got to do. First thing you had to do was to write your headline. Second thing is to make sure your background image is sorted. Okay, now a quick thing here. There's a new feature that came out last year. No, maybe year before. Maybe it's not so new now, but it's about name pronunciation. You may not have noticed it. It comes up on the mobile app. Okay. Now, if you've got a bit of an unusual surname or first name, whatever it is, it's difficult to pronounce, then you can now, on LinkedIn, you'll notice there's a little icon right next to your name on the mobile app, and you can tap on that, and you've got 10 seconds to record how to pronounce your name. And then next to your name, it will display a little icon that you can see on the right there to say, this is how you pronounce your name. Now, this is hugely helpful. Nobody knows how to pronounce von Hipt, but when I go and speak at things, in the lead up to those things, I say, please jump onto LinkedIn and learn how to pronounce my name properly. And they do. So it's a great little feature. A personal summary. So somebody's writing in their diary, nice and personal here. People read your personal summaries, okay? So you've got to make sure that you catch your attention. Now, this is going to drive you back to your purpose, okay? Why you're on LinkedIn there, okay? But you're going to have to write here. You know, it's not just a headline. It is actually a decent bit of writing. And if writing's not your thing, then you might want to engage somebody to help you with that writing, or to at least review what you write. So start by setting your objective. What do you want the reader to think, having read all about you? Okay. What do you want them to do next? Okay. And you want to tell them about what you do. You want to tell them about who you are. If you're looking for new opportunities, you want to let them know. You can put a little ring around your profile picture to say that you're open to work now. And I want to say that it's okay to inject some personality. Obviously, you've got to keep your language professional, but it's okay to be human. That's one of the beautiful things I think of the last couple of years, is that people recognize that people have lives, that they have side gigs that they're passionate about and that they're trying to build up on the side. It's okay to talk about those things on your LinkedIn profile, okay? You might have remember right at the start of this masterclass, there was a combi on screen. And that's actually my combi, and I talk about it in my about section. I often will finish off a bio and I say, and I drive an awesome combi, and I just throw it in there. If you go onto my Twitter account, it's the background picture on my Twitter account. Okay to have a bit of personality, to have an interest that you're into, whether you particularly like Doberman dogs or needlepoint, I don't mind. You can mention that in there, and I often read those things when I'm meeting people. I'll go and have a look at their personal summary and I'll read it. And it's a great way of actually connecting kind of in a more deeper way if you've paid attention to the fine detail of their profile about stuff that they're interested in there. Sorry, just watching the chat down there. They can be quite distracting, those chats. Well done, you're having a good chat there. Important when you're writing that personal summary is to use some keywords, okay, to increase your visibility. At the end of the day, you'll get these notifications constantly from LinkedIn to say, you appeared in this many search results this week, okay? So people are out there constantly searching. right? And they're using keywords, okay? So this is what I was talking about before a little bit when I was talking about the skills that people are listing. But there are ways that you can work out what the keywords are. And so one of them is just to go and check competitor profiles, okay? Go and look at other people who are in the same industry or applying for the same sort of jobs that you'd be applying for, and just seeing what words they're listing that will help you to show up in people's searches. You almost got to kind of put yourself into the shoes of the people that you want to get in touch with. If you're out there looking for leads, or if you're out there trying to recruit people, what are those people searching for? When they jump online and they jump on LinkedIn to find somebody, what are the terms that they're using to search with? Search for your title, search for your industry, and see what the top results are going to be. So if I'm going to summarize this kind of section, here's the stuff that you're going to need to do after this session to kind of start bringing your, and notice we're only on the first thing here, okay? So write your summary or edit it. That's really important. Make sure you're using at least one keyword for your industry. What do you want the reader to think? What do you want the reader to do next? What's the reader's problem that you solve? What do you do? Who are you? What are the opportunities you're looking for? It's okay to inject some personality. It's okay to have side hustles. You can screenshot that, or if you want that list afterwards, just message me on LinkedIn and I can send you a copy of the slide there, okay? So your first question was, who are you, okay? And our second question has a little microphone down the bottom there, so that's nice and easy to draw. You just go, a little flat line, so you're back to your notes there. And the second question, which goes with the microphone, is what do you have to say? Like, why should we listen to you? Like, what do you have to say? What proof do you have that you are who you say you are, that you can do what you say you do? How do we know that you are credible? Okay. And so there's a few different ways that we can kind of tackle these questions. Okay. So firstly, we can add some featured content. So there's an option there to add some extra stuff. Maybe that's a content that you've posted, maybe it's an article you've written, a link to some web content, perhaps there's a YouTube video of you presenting something, some media that you've done, or photos or documents or presentations, whatever it might be, you can add them to the featured section on your LinkedIn profile. Just makes it look a bit more industry, a bit more interesting. Sorry, I just saw Sue's question, and Sue's comment. Oh, welcome, Sue. I'm going to introduce you later, actually. That you can add a video via your phone with your profile picture at the top there. Thank you, Sue. I'll come back to Sue. So hang on, can we go to the slide before that? Oh, you're trying to write down some, hang on, someone was trying to write down that list. I'll go back to that one. Is that the one you needed, Tiara? No, not that one, this one? I might have to, you might have to tell me later because I want to keep going here. Sorry, Tiara. So what are we doing here? The next one. Okay, that one, yay. We need to add our experience. To get to all-star status, you need to have at least 2 jobs listed in your experience section. You want to have education. So we got that list there. There we go. So we want to add our featured stuff. We want to add our education, our licenses, and our certifications. University education, licenses might include ongoing professional development that you've done. With that kind of stuff, you only need to go back as far as is relevant to your role. So I have other qualifications that I don't list on my LinkedIn profile because they're not relevant to what I do nowadays. I know this lady who happened to be the beer pong champion at their university, and that's not on their profile either. But if they worked in the brewing industry, it actually might be something that you would put on your profile. A little bit tongue-in-cheek, okay to have a bit of a personality, okay? So that's fairly quick on that section because I want to go on to this next one. So the next one is about, and the question to go with this little one, which is the little symbol for a network, is who are you linked with, okay? And this is really important because this will actually influence the sort of content that comes into your feed. So let's have a talk about this. The key word when it comes to your network, for me, the key word is promiscuity, okay? You want to connect with absolutely anyone. You don't care who you connect with on LinkedIn, okay? Now we're going to refine that a little bit, but the starting point with your network is promiscuity, okay? And the way we start building that network up is like this. So I often say to people, start with the warmest leads that you have, like the warmest connections that you have. Your family, your friends, your personal interests, and school or uni, that can overlap into your professional world. But don't be shy about connecting with your uncle on there. People can't tell, you've probably got a different surname now. Don't be shy about connecting with your friends that you hang out with on the weekend, because it's really important that you have a strong and wide network. And that's important because when recruiters are searching for somebody, the order that the results get returned to them are by degree of connection. So if you are a first degree connection with a recruiter, when they search, if you've got the right skill set, you'll be at the top of the list. Okay, so you want your network to be as wide and as broad as possible. If you've got a particular personal interest, I do circus stuff on the time. On Wednesday night, I was fire twirling and fire hooping and drumming and things. And I have people in my LinkedIn network who come from that part of my world. School and uni, and I've got a few contacts still from school and uni, but they're all part of my LinkedIn network. Every time I meet somebody at work, I'm in work meetings 2 or 3 times a week, probably. I'll meet somebody new, and by the end of the meeting, I've sent them a connection request on LinkedIn. Some of them are clients, people that we work with, people that we're providing social media services, education services to, and some of them are vendors. So they're people who are providing social media services themselves, or providing learning and development technology, because that's my particular field. But make sure that your network is wide and deep. And it's also something that you can't be passive about. People will ask to connect with you, but if you want to get to all-star status, if you want to have a great experience of LinkedIn, you've really got to connect with a whole bunch of people, and you've got to be intentional about it. Go out there and have a look at the recommended connections. LinkedIn has got a really clever algorithm, and it will prompt you and say, hey, you might know these people. Hey, you might know that person. Hey, you might want to connect with that person. So make sure that you are having that. And the other thing you can use is LinkedIn search. Jump in there and just use some of the filters to narrow down and find some people that you want. And if you wanted to work in a particular company, then you can go in, you can actually browse the company employers. Like if you look at Woolworths, there's 60,000 followers of the Woolworths account, but 13,000 employees on LinkedIn. Okay, now that will be some of those people will be people who used to work at Woolworths. But if you're wanting to work in a particular organization, then it's a great way of connecting. It was one of the things that we did with my son. He wanted to work for a particular organization, and so we just went and found all of the people in that organization, and we sent them a connection request, and we said, hey, really interested in working with your organization. If you have any opportunities come up, I'd love to hear about them. And in the meantime, I'm interested in what you share on here. And he signed off. And as I say, 3 weeks later, we had somebody chasing him to come in for an interview. So something for you to do afterwards here. Send 2 connection invites to people in your industry. Okay, now one of the things that I want to say here is that you should always include a personal note. It doesn't have to be long. It can be as simple as, hi, Jane, I'm trying to broaden my connections in our industry so I can learn from others and add value to them. Neil, okay, it can be nice, but always add a personal note, because we need to keep the kind of human touch in what we do. And the other thing that I want to say is that when it comes to your network, and I talked about being promiscuous, it's important that it's big, because otherwise you can get a bit of what I call an echo chamber, where you just get the same people bouncing around the same ideas. But you also want to keep in some what I call contrarians, which are people who will argue with you, and some outliers, some people who are kind of just different to you in whatever way that might be. Maybe there's some right-wing person, or maybe they're a left-wing person, depending on where you are. I don't mind, kind of thing. Different politics, or they might work in a completely different industry. Connect with them, because it's important that your feed doesn't become vanilla, because if it becomes vanilla, you'll stop going to it and you'll stop learning from it. You can join groups, great way to expand your network. Just go and search for groups in your industries. There's some fabulous ones out there, which will actually lead me to how you can actually get the most out of groups. So before you join a group, just have a look at the members who are in there, have a look at the number of members, the description of the group, and what the rules are. When you join the group, introduce yourself, do a little post to say who you are, why you joined, what you're hoping to get out of it. And thirdly, interact. And we'll come back to this one a bit later, but ask and answer some questions. Mention people, tag them into the accounts, like and comment. We'll come back to that idea, but don't jump in there and kind of promote what you do. You've got to let your contribution be your promotion. So the next thing for you to do after we're finished is to go and find and join a group that's relevant to your industry. Now, we've got a whole range of people in the session today, so I'm not going to kind of suggest that, but suggest that you share what the groups are, but go and find yourself a group and join them. Recommendations are really important in part of your network. They're gold, okay? But they can be a bit awkward to kind of ask people. If I want a recommendation, I'll often contact the person independently of LinkedIn first and say, hey, would you be able to write me a recommendation? And then I go on there, and LinkedIn has a couple of prompts where you can ask them, and then you can remind them to actually write your recommendation. These are great recommendations. You really should have a couple of them, and to have maximum impact. So, on to my next idea. 2 to go. I often have people say to me about their LinkedIn, they go, my feed is rubbish. It's just full of noise and it's full of stuff that's completely irrelevant to me. Okay, so this becomes then a question in terms of how you use LinkedIn. And the question then that you would ask for this one is, who do you listen to? Okay. Now, the most important function in terms of who you listen to is on any given post on the top right-hand side, there's a little drop-down menu, little turn-down arrow, little drop-down menu, and there's an option in that to unfollow. Now, people get really worried about unfollowing because they think that the person who's they're unfollowing is going to get a little notification to say, oh, Neil unfollowed you. But that's not going to happen, okay? But that unfollow, what it does is it just means that their content won't show up in your feed. You'll still be connected to them. That could be important if you're going for a job and they're connected to the recruiter that you need to do and make you a secondary degree connection. But you don't have to listen to them, okay? So that mute function, I just used it this morning on somebody posted this thing and I was just like, oh, that is just terrible content. And so mute, okay? Still connected, but I'm not going to see their content anymore. Now, that wasn't like a one-off kind of flippant thing. That was a bit of a pattern. And I was just like, you know what, that's not adding value into what's in my feed. And I love my LinkedIn feed. It's so helpful. The people and the stuff that comes in there is so good. And there's a couple of ways you can shape who you listen to and the sort of content that's coming into your feed. Okay, so you can follow hashtags. Okay, and so you just search for the hashtag. It might be hashtag social media or hashtag learning and development or hashtag graphic design, whatever it is. And you can follow that hashtag. And what it means is that when people post content using that hashtag, that's going to get put into your feed. So it's a way of shaping the sort of content that you can listen to there. You can similarly shape your feed by following influencers in your industry where you're interested in hearing what they have to say. I had another young friend of ours who was a nuclear medicine technician. And I said to them, you need to, while they're at uni, and I said, you need to connect with the top nuclear medicine people all around the world. And they did. They jumped online and connected with it. And as a result of that, they got invited while they were still at uni, they got invited to attend a conference over in New York. And they were away for 3 weeks attending this conference. And it had all come just by connecting with these top people in their profession. Similarly with companies, if you're interested in working in particular companies, then go and follow them on LinkedIn and start seeing and engaging with their content. Keep pressing that button. One day I'll learn. So unfollow, hashtags, influencers, companies, and stories. Stories is only new to LinkedIn, but keep an eye on stories because it's growing. They're still trying to work out. It hasn't got a lot of traction, but there's an interesting opportunity there at the moment to kind of jump into that space. And we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with LinkedIn stories. So here's an example of the social media hashtag. 19 million followers on that hashtag. So people put content in there and that'll start coming into your feed. So the last one that I want to do there is a little plus and a tick, okay? And the question that goes with that one is, how can you add value, okay? And this is so important for LinkedIn. So a lot of people kind of approach LinkedIn with what I can get out of it. Can I get a job out of this? Can I connect with that person out of this? But the key to having a good experience for LinkedIn, certainly for how I use it, is to think about how I can add value to other people's worlds. Okay. Now, when somebody does a post, there's a number of different ways that you can add value to that post. So the first is perhaps the easiest one is you can just react to that post. You've got a bunch of little emoticons in there. You can say that you like it. You can say you were curious about it. You say it was a good idea. And that's kind of the simplest level. And people kind of go, oh, is that really worth the effort to actually just put a little reaction emoji on it? And the answer is absolutely yes, because if you do a post and 30 people engage with it just by reacting, then more people are going to see that post, okay? And it flags to people in your network who might also be interested in that post that this is a good bit of content. So if you're putting your kind of stamp of approval on it, you're not just saying you liked it, you're saying this is a bit of content that's worth having a look at, okay? The next level up, if you want to level up your adding value, is to make a comment. Okay, and so you just jump into the post there, and down the bottom you make a comment. Now, I'm not talking about a comment where it just says, hey, that was really good. Thanks for sharing. Okay, actually engage meaningfully with the comments there. Okay, the next level up is to actually share somebody else's content. So you go, this is a really bit of content, and I'm going to share that with my network. Now, I only do that on a kind of limited basis because I think we have to be careful of making noise. So if it is a really good bit of content and you want to add something to it by adding a comment to it or asking a question, then go for it. If you're just going to get somebody else's bit of content and kind of bounce it out to your network without actually adding any value to the original content, then I'd just say, let the original bit of content sit there and do its own thing. Don't just make more noise for the sake of sharing something. And the next level up is to actually post some of your own content, to write something and to contribute to your network. And so whenever I'm doing this, my question is, how am I adding value to my network? Is this post that I'm writing going to actually add value? And that could be a few different things. Typically on LinkedIn, we're going for educating or entertaining a little bit, perhaps inspiring people as our purpose there when we're posting. But how am I adding value? And the final one there is to actually publish some content. Now, that's distinguishing between a post and an article. Published content sits permanently on your profile in a particular section for your articles, whereas the posts and your other engagement, they just keep kind of scrolling down in your feed. Articles are for kind of your top tier of content that you're going to share with you. Kind of they're refined pieces of writing, they've got good graphics and they've got good structure. You've probably had somebody proofread it for you. And that's a great way of actually adding value to your audience. So that's a couple of ideas there. So engaging with your feed, and this is just really important. The more you engage with people, the more value you will get out of LinkedIn, the more your profile will get activity and reach. Engage with useful updates, meaningful comments, invest some time into this, which would lead me to my next little one here, which is to say, when you're finished here, just go and engage with 2 posts in your feed, okay? Whenever I'm working with somebody on their LinkedIn and their profile, part of what I say is get the LinkedIn icon on your phone screen and slide it over so that it's right next to Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Twitter. And there's a little row there. And I just say to them, every time you go onto Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, whatever, you know, depending on how old they are or which ones they're into, every time you go on there, just go on LinkedIn and like something as a minimum, but ideally just go and engage with somebody else's post and tell them what you thought about it. Perhaps ask them a question, perhaps share a link where you've gone, hey, that's a really good resource. Whatever it is, go and do some real engagement there. Share some great content. Here's a great example, a ebook around how blockchain will impact the legal industry. Now, that's obviously pretty niche content, but that little ebook got 1.7 million views and I think still counting. So I think it's possibly even higher than that now. And they had an interesting tactic. So they put a little thing there to say, type gimme in the contents and I'll send you a free copy. Now, gimme's not a word that people working in the legal industry are predisposed towards using, but they had 1,700 comments saying gimme and other things. But when you provide people with value, even if it's very niche, has that potential to kind of go viral as this one does. But more importantly, it just positions you with expertise and authority and knowing what you're talking about. You can write your own LinkedIn articles, of course, and they're just a great way of demonstrating your professional experience, demonstrating your expertise in a particular topic area. It's a great way to position yourself as an expert within your space and with your peers there. So there we have my 6 key ideas. First of all, start with what your purpose is, understanding why you're on LinkedIn in the first place. And then set up who you are really well. Make sure that you're up there with your profile picture and your background and all of those different details in there. Be clear about what you have to say, why you should be listened to, what expertise you have. Build your network, not passively, but actively, getting out there and intentionally connecting with people, finding people that you want to work with, organizations you want to work with, people you want to connect with, and sending them a meaningful connection request. Shape who you're listening to, and that will make your feed valuable. Every day when I'm on my LinkedIn feed, there is great content in there because I've been really particular about the people that I connect with and I engage with their content regularly. And because of that, my content stream is a stream of gold. And finally, add value when you're on LinkedIn. Don't just kind of be on there making noise, but contribute to the people in your network, and you will find that they start doing that with the content that you share. Now, I want to try a kind of interesting exercise, and I'm hoping a few of you have got your LinkedIn profiles open, because I want to try this idea. I just kind of came up with this one, but it's the idea of paying it forward, okay? And so what I want you to do is, in the chat, I want you to paste the URL, the link to your LinkedIn profile, okay? So, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a whole kind of list of people who are in there. Lisa Harrison, straight off the mark. Nice work, Lisa. And what I want you to do is, I'm hoping that the person who follows you in this list, and they're all trickling in now, which is awesome, that the person that you'll actually jump onto their profile and give them some feedback in the light of what we've talked about today about how they could improve it in the next 24 hours so that we actually get it done. Chances are if you don't do it in the next 24 hours, you're actually not going to do it, okay? So Francis, you're going to be looking at Lyndall's one straight underneath you. Click on the link now and it will open up for you on another tab, and you can go back to it afterwards. And that sort of feedback is just gold, okay? Remember, we're in this together. We actually want to kind of help each other to improve our LinkedIn. So good to see all those names coming in there. Oh, hi, Anna. I haven't seen her since we did the social media marketing intensive together. Welcome. And send your review through LinkedIn messages just to get you familiar with using LinkedIn messages, okay? So they're ticking in there, which is great. Now, I did mention some people before. It's so important with LinkedIn to obviously keep building your connections. You need a great network to be successful nowadays. It's something that you need to be constantly working on. You want top people in your profession from around the globe, people you've worked with, family, friends. Now, I'm going to recommend, and I've said them on the way through, but I'm going to hit them again. First of all was my friend, Philip Wan, just so that he knows that I'm still using his profile as an example. Nathaniel Bibby, if you haven't already connected with him. Now, Sue Elson, I did spot her in the chat at one point. Sue is amazing. She's one of our facilitators and just knows LinkedIn inside out. And so, SUE and then ELLSON. Make sure you connect with her. You would have written down Andrew Ford before. Find him from Social Star Marketing and connect with him. And my final one that I would recommend is Kylie Chown, CHOWN. So Kylie, K-Y-L-I-E, and Kylie Chown. Kylie is again one of our facilitators, and I think she won the best use of LinkedIn in 2021. So she's fabulous as well. Send them all a little note to say, hey, we heard about you in the LinkedIn masterclass today. I would love to connect and hear what you have to say. Fabulous people. Now I've got 6 minutes to go here. A situational action plan. Now these are gold. Did you know that when you write an action plan, that if you identify the situations where the actions are going to happen, then you're almost twice as likely to actually get stuff done. So if you've been taking notes, what I want you to do is to look at your notes, and I want you to circle 3 things that you can do in response to what you've just learned. Okay, so there might be specific things where you just need to flip your profile picture so it's facing to the left. They might be that you want to rewrite your headline in the X helping Y to do Z framework, whatever they are. Choose those things, but then what I want you to do is write down next to where are the situations that you're actually going to do those things. Okay, so you might just go, you might set yourself an alarm in your phone and say 2 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to go in. Oh, not 2 o'clock, that's about 3 minutes away. 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do those 3 things. It might be that you're about to go away for a long weekend and you go, you know what, I'm going to be at my desk on Tuesday next week. I've got no meetings to do. I might put something into my calendar and to say, I need to go and take a better profile picture. And then you think, oh, hang on, my sister's got an awesome profile picture. She's a good photographer. I'm going to be over at her place next Saturday night. I'll get her to take me a new picture for my profile picture. That's the situation. Okay, so if you identify a situation to go with your action plan, then you're much more likely to do it. We've got about 2 slides to go. When you jump out of this, which may be very soon, there's a little prompt to go and give us some feedback. I would love to hear your feedback and your ideas. You can leave them there. I'm very happy for you to contact me on LinkedIn. If you don't know how to find me, all you need to do is scroll over my picture on the screen at the moment and my name will come. Oh, no, it won't. It says Social Media College. I logged into the work account. Neil Von Hute, I would love to hear from you. And I would love, as I said before, if you've taken a great set of notes, take a photo of it and I will do a post introducing you to my network and just saying you're amazing for taking great notes when you're trying to learn something. I'm at Social Media College, of course. I'm the head of learning design here. We would love you to connect with us on absolutely everything. We're on everything and we're on everything with different purposes. We're on TikTok, mostly for fun. We've got some new style content happening on Instagram at the moment. Our YouTube is going off like a skyrocket at the moment. It's so good, but we're happy for you to connect. Just search for Social Media College. This is kind of what we do, is help people to do social media stuff, which is why my final slide, it says this kind of stuff. Now I'm going to jump into the chat. By my clock, I've got about 3 minutes. I'll attempt to answer some questions over in there. If I don't answer your question and you really want it answered, then please ask me on LinkedIn. I'm so happy to help you do that. And so I'm just going to have a quick look through the chat. It's been going off, and so I'm going to scroll back for ages and just kind of see what people have been saying. But thank you for joining us. We're 2 minutes shy of 2 o'clock, so I'll answer some questions. And otherwise, I wish you a beautiful weekend, wherever you might be. Thanks for joining us, and keep an eye out for other Social Media College masterclasses. They come up regularly. If you're not subscribed to our newsletter, jump in there, and then you'll be hearing all about them on a regular basis.